Okay, so thank you for being here with me today for our second webinar of the season. So we first started off with our first webinar on how to start off with email marketing, how to send your first campaign, where we kind of touched based on the different elements that you will find in CakeMail. But today is going to be a little bit more technical, just as we approach the biggest aspect of email marketing, which would be your contact list and how to manage it. So thank you all for being here today. I'm Selma, I'm CakeMail's product expert. I answer all of your questions in the support and I make sure that things go as smoothly as possible. So right off the bat, we've got our dashboard as we log into CakeMail. Now, we went over this last time, but today we're going to dive into the contacts section of your account. Now, the contacts section of your account is where all your database is going to be stored. That's where you're going to add your contacts. We're going to break today's demo into two big steps. The first one would be the foundation, which is when you import your list into your account. That would be who are we talking to. Now, everything in email marketing starts with your audience. This is your biggest asset. And the very first step to do is to bring your contacts into CakeMail. So I'm going to show you just how simple it is, step by step, and we can then move on to leveraging this asset. Now, as you go into contacts, you're going to see the option here, the little plus button to add your contacts. Now, you could either add contacts into an already existing list, or you could create a new one, which in my case, I already have a list, but I want to import contacts into it. So I've selected my list. I can give it a name. I can rename it as I wish. I can select a sender, which is the address from which I'll be sending my emails. Over here, I'm going to pick my own personal sender, which is hello@beautifullyyours.com, and I can just click on continue. Now, sorry for that. I suppose we can also just create a new list, and that will be just as good. Okay. So when importing your contacts, two options will be offered to you. You can pick whichever works for you, depending on how you've been storing your data. You could be using a CSV file, which could also be converted from an Excel file. And in this case, all you have to do is click on Browse a file to upload, and then the system will directly take you to your folders, and you can pick the CSV file that you wish to import. This is a very easy process. All you have to do is select the proper file. Now, if you're someone more visual, just like me, you like to see your columns straight, you like to import them one by one, you could do so by copy and pasting directly from a spreadsheet. Now, this is what I'm going to walk you through today as I click on Start Pasting from Spreadsheet. So over here is the area you will be copy and pasting into. Over here is my Google Sheet, which I'm gonna open. And it's going to contain all of the addresses, the contacts that I wish to add to my CakeMail account. Now, all I have to do is I'm going to go and select everything I have in my sheet, and I'm going to go back to CakeMail, and right on the first line over here, start pasting your info here, I'm going to paste it all. So as I paste it, I have all the information that's populated in the sheet. Now I can make sure that everything's right, and once that's done, I just have to click continue. Now this second step takes you to the column population step, which is where you go to make sure that everything is properly filled in, that all the first names look right, that there is no column that has accidentally switched while pasting it. For example, here I have email address. I can select this and make sure that it's actually email, just so the system recognizes it properly. So if you have any fields. If you're unsure about the way one of your columns is named, you can always rectify that. You can change the name of your field and just make sure that everything's lined up properly for a proper import. Now, once that's done, I can double check, I can make sure it's all good and just then click continue. Once I click continue, it's very important that I confirm that I have full permission from my contacts before sending to them. This is an email marketing requirement where you have to have permission before sending out your campaigns to the contacts in your list. I can just click continue. Yes, I have the permission. And now all of my contacts have been successfully imported into my list, which is fantastic. Of course, you can always add more. You could always add one by one manually. It all depends on what you want to do. Now that that's done, I can just click close. And as you can see, I have all of my contacts in my list. Now, I don't have a big audience. I have 15 contacts, but we can all start somewhere. So now that this is done, I've imported my contacts and I'm very happy with it. What can I do next? So what happens if I want to add more contacts, maybe contacts that are not already in my database? In this case, you could create a form, a subscription form. A subscription form is going to be a form that you can add to your website, your social platforms, or anything of the sorts to entice people into subscribing to your marketing newsletter. So all I have to do is I can go into forms and I can create a form. Now, there are two different kinds. We're not going to get too technical. Let's say I want people to subscribe to my newsletter. I'm gonna have to assign it to my list, just so when people subscribe to my newsletter using my website, they're automatically synchronized with my already existing list. So whenever someone visits my website, they think, oh, this is fantastic. I would love to receive your newsletters. They're automatically added to my mailing list. And this is a perfect tool because it takes care of all the hassle where you manually have to add contacts back and forth. It takes care of that and directly synchronizes them to your list. Now, double opt-in. I want people to confirm that they do indeed wish to receive my campaigns. Continue. And once that's done, a form is going to get created. So this is my basic form. You can either get a linked form, which is a URL you can just copy and paste, or an embedded form, which you can fully integrate into your website. So when people are scrolling down, they actually see a pop-up with a form with your different fields that you want them to add. So I'm gonna quickly show you what the linked form looks like. The overall view looks like this, but this is something you can personalize by clicking on Edit Form. So once you click on Edit Form, this is a little editor very similar to the campaign editor where you can simply drag and drop different elements very intuitively just to personalize your campaign a little further and as well as your form. So over here, I have my title, which I can edit, and I can say, welcome to my newsletter. I can, of course, change the type, maybe make it bolder, a little smaller, depending on what you really want. I can add a paragraph, which personally I believe is very important because you want to tell people what it is that they're subscribing to. This is to receive our weekly newsletter. For example, this is as well something that you can really put more dynamics into. You can really personalize it just to really grasp the attention of your audience. Let them know this is to receive special coupons, offer, promo codes, and so on to stay in touch with your brand. Now, a mandatory field would be the email address. This is where they fill up their address so you can reach out to them. You can add custom attributes, which is a very, very interesting part of CakeMail because you can have them ask them for their names, first name, last name, things that can really help you further personalize the experience as they subscribe to your newsletter. So a custom attribute would be, for example, first name. That would be your custom attribute. And finally, you've got your subscribe button. Now, this is just a rough draft of what a form can look like. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna click on save, and then I'm gonna get the URL. This is just to show you what the appearance looks like. So as people open your URL, for example, you have a social media platform and you use URLs for people to subscribe. This is what it will look like to them. And as they click subscribe, they will be redirected to this page, which will already be personalized with your logo. It will, if you've added your logo already to your brand section in CakeMail, then it will automatically be added. You can add any other visuals like the colors. Here the text is green, just like my brand, just to keep it aligned with what that looks like. Now, a verification email is being sent and it's also being personalized to fit with your brand. Now, as you can see, if I just go back into contacts, if I just look myself up, you're gonna see that I have just now subscribed to the list. So it's immediate, it's immediately synchronized with your list and will really help you grow your list tremendously, especially if you're active on other platforms as well as your newsletters. Now, sorry, I'm just getting lost in thoughts. So now that we've imported our contacts, now that we know how to create a form, we can move on to different aspects of email marketing, which is leveraging said list. Sorry. So, just a second. So while sending the same message to everyone isn't necessarily the most effective way to do it, the real power is truly in sending personalized messages to your right audience. And this comes from segmentation. So segmentation is taking your big list and grouping it into smaller targets that helps you better define the experience for each specific contact. So for example, in my case, Beautifully Yours is a little coffee concept. So I would like to reach out to people with certain preferences for certain coffee types, just to better target their needs and what it is that they really need. So what I can do is I can go back to my list and I can create a segment. So under contacts, you have your mailing list, and over here in blue, you've got the button Create Segment. If I click on Create Segment, it takes me to my general list as well as a conditions area. So what I can do is I can give it a name. In my case, I want to be able to reach out to people who've ordered from me recently. I want to engage with them. I want to give them a little promo code, something of the sorts. So I'm going to name my segment Engaged Contacts. What I can do is I can select different conditions based on their behavior, based on their email activity, things that are really interesting to me as a sender. So for example, in my list, you can see that I have different columns. And over here, I have my last order date. So I have the specific dates for when someone has last ordered from me. And I want to be able to leverage this information. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get last order date. And I want to reach out to people who've ordered from me less than 90 days ago. So say 2025. Last order date is greater than 90. I should be able to, just give me a second. Okay, let's change up the prompt. I want people in the area of Montreal to be able to reach out to me. So in my case, I have 2 clients that are based in Montreal out of 15, and I really want to be able to reach out to them, just give them a little freebie, something of the sorts, let them know about my new launch in Montreal, anything of the sorts. So in this case, the condition is city is Montreal. This is information that I already have on my list. I've already imported the field city, so I know exactly where my audience is, but I want to segment them based on areas. Now, once that's done, I can just click Save and Exit. And as you can see, here is my general list, but if I click over here, I have my engaged contacts. So over here is your mailing list, and over here would be all of your segments. Now, there are different ways you can create a segment. You could create a segment based on an attribute, a tag, or their activity. Now, their activity is when, for example, you've been sending campaigns, people have been opening your campaigns, and you want to be able to leverage that information. So you can segment them based on their activity. That's how they act and react to your campaigns after you've sent them to them. When you segment based on something else, like an attribute, that would be what I have done just now. This is based on information that I have available on my list. That would be an attribute segmentation. But there is another very nice little way to segment, which would be based on tags. Now, tags work like little sticky notes. You're the one who gives them to your contacts. Say, for example, you know for a fact that some contacts have attended an event. They've attended a conference, they've attended one of your workshops, something of the sorts, and you want to give them the little sticky note that, yes, this person has been attending my events, and I want to reach out to them specifically for another one of my events, to invite them, for example. So what I can do is I can click on plus, I can add contacts, and over here, at the moment of import, I can create segments with a tag. So when I import my contacts, say for example, out of these 15, I know for example that Alex, Sam, and Jessica have attended my latest events. So I want Alex, Sam, and Jessica to be included in this segment. So I want them to have the tag coffee invites. So I want to invite them. Coffee enthusiasts. Okay, so my tag was created. I can select it. And now all I have to do is, just like earlier, copy and paste them. Click continue. And what will happen is that when they're imported into my list, they will automatically have the little sticky note, the little tag that they are part of this segment. So I don't have to go over and manually do it. It will automatically be done. This is especially helpful when you have large contact lists and you don't manually want to select each one individually. Now, what happens if I go into my mailing list? Over here, I have all contacts, and you can see my 2 distinct segments. Now I have a segment for the people who are engaged contacts, and now I have a segment of coffee enthusiasts. This segment is going to be empty by default, but what I can do is I can edit it. When I edit it, it creates the tag coffee enthusiasts. As you can see, I have Alex, Jess, and Sam, the ones who I've tagged earlier. Now, I understand this can be a little technical right off the bat. I always really recommend playing around with the list management tool, as it really helps you better understand your audience and how to reach out to them better. So now that I've added them, I can just go into Coffee Enthusiast and I have my 3 contacts. So these three contacts are being labeled as coffee enthusiasts, and when sending a campaign, I can specifically select them for the specific send-in that I wish to do. Or I could also select my engaged contacts. It all really depends on what I want to achieve. But just to give you a clear idea on what that looks like, when I go into campaigns, if I go into my draft, I can scroll all the way down and I can send to the selected segments. So over here, I wish to select only the people who've been engaged contacts. As you remember, we only had 2 subscribers, and right now you can see that 2 of my subscribers are going to receive my little preview, my little campaign. And the fun thing is that I can add more than one segment. So say, for example, you have an audience of 15 contacts, but out of these 15, only 10 really need to receive your campaign. These 10 people might be into different segments. You want to be able to reach out to them only exclusively instead of reaching out to your whole list. You can do it simply by selecting the different segments. As you remember, I had 2 here, I had 2 here, and now I have 4 subscribers that are going to receive my campaign. So once I'm happy with it, I can just close and I can go back to my contact list. Now, this is just a quick rundown of what you can do with segments. It's truly a really powerful tool as it really helps you target accurately your contacts' needs and just keep them more engaged and reactive to what it is that you send them. Now, there are different little things that we can go over for your list. Over here, as you can see, you've got the plus to import your contacts. And over here, you've got the little cog that takes you to your list settings. Now, a list has different settings to it. We talked earlier about attributes. And over here is where you can add them. So just to explain it a little bit, break it down a little bit easier, an attribute is a column within your contact list. So for example, if I have a list that has email, first name, and last name would be columns within your sheet. These are called attributes within CakeMail. When you have an attribute, you can personalize your campaign. For example, when someone subscribes into your campaign, you can tell them, hey, what's your first name? What's your last name? And later on in your campaign, you can leverage that information to personalize the content. So when you're sending to someone, you're not just sending to, hey, no one. You're sending to hey with their first name, like, hey, Selma, this is specifically sent to you. And this really creates this bond with your audience to really, really engage with them on a deeper level. So over here, if you wish to add an attribute, you can just come here. I already have my first and last name created, but this is just to walk you through it. First name, this is the name of your attribute, and this is the name that will show to your contacts. For example, prénom, nom, depending on how you want it. First name. You can save it. Mine is already created, so obviously it's going to be a bit of a problem. But all in all, this is all you have to do to create your attributes. On the far right are your settings. So your settings are, for example, the language of your list. So we already went over forms, but you have to keep in mind that forms automatically generate a confirmation email. So when someone subscribes to your list, a confirmation email will be sent to them. And the language in which they receive the email is defined here. So if you know your audience is more English speaking, then your default language needs to be in English. But it could also be in French, or it could also be in Spanish. It's up to you to modify it, to adjust it to your audience. You have your default sender, that would be the address in which you're sending from. And all the way down are your personalized landing pages. So if someone subscribes to your list or unsubscribes, usually they're redirected to our default landing pages. These are pages that we generate for you that are already created by default. But if you wanted to further personalize the experience, you could add your own URL that would redirect to your website, for example. In this case, you can add a subscription confirmation page, you could add an unsubscribe page, and of course, you can always preview them to see what that would look like. By default, this is the page that you're redirected to when you just subscribe. This is the subscription confirmation page, which is also created by default to confirm that someone has subscribed. So this is when the confirmation email is sent, this is when they've subscribed, and this is if they wish to unsubscribe. So these are all pretty standard, but these are also things that you can personalize. If you have a website, if you have your own landing pages, if you're savvy in that way, you can always add the URLs directly. Now, the interest section is a quick little section that takes you to the preferences. So when people unsubscribe to your content, they can choose whether they wish to remain subscribed to some aspects or not. So say for example, you have different types of content. You send a newsletter, but you also send reminders, and you also send promo codes and things of the sorts. Maybe someone wants to subscribe to one thing, but not the other, and vice versa. In the Manage Your Preference area, your contacts can choose which information to be subscribed to. All you have to do is go over here in Interests and add an interest. In this case, I want people who are subscribed to my newsletter. I can click Save. That creates an interest. My contacts have an interest for promo codes. That would be an interest. I can add it. Or maybe they have an interest for reminders. They only want to be reminded of my activity or whatever that I am about to do. So over here is the display name. That would be the name that shows up. Save, promo codes, save that, and reminders. Save that as well. Now, if I go to my preference center, this is what they will see. Interests. So you can select the topics you'd be interested to receive emails from. You can select newsletters, promo codes, reminders, and this, just like tags, add a bit of a sticky note to your contact, which tells us this contact has a huge interest for promo codes and they want to receive only my promo codes. So in that case, they can just select this and it will be automatically added to their contact information. This is all synchronized and all happens in real time in CakeMail. So as they subscribe or unsubscribe, they're getting new information added to their contact list. Now, speaking of contacts, you can also review a contact's profile by simply clicking on it. If I click on an email address, then it gives me access to the profile of my contact, as well as a history of what emails they've received, opened, clicked on, and so on. And as you can see over here, I can see the tags, the interests, if they have any, and all the different information that is attached to their profile. I can also review their activities. So if I've updated them, if they've subscribed, it gives me detailed information that I can leverage to further personalize the whole experience. Now, once this is done, obviously, I can also click on the far left column to add action. So say, for example, I only want to manually add one tag to a person or interest. I can do so by clicking on Action, Add or Remove Interest, Add or Remove Tags. I can also unsubscribe my contact or add them to my suppression list. Now, a suppression list is where your contacts go when they do not want to receive any of your communications anymore. Say, for example, someone is not willing to receive any newsletter or any other content, you can add them to the suppression list. This is in order to align with the laws in place that prevent you from sending to people who do not give you their consent. And this is to protect your reputation. You can also permanently delete a contact. All you have to do, click on permanently delete and type down delete to confirm the deletion. Now, this was just a quick little tour of the list management tool. There are more areas that we can cover and that we will be touching base on as we move deeper into our webinar sessions. But this is just to give you a quick little idea. One final thing I will talk about, though, is our little filter. Now, the filter helps in giving you an idea on how your audience is doing. So, for example, the default filter is that the list only shows me active contacts. But it could also show me the unsubscribed. So I want to know who unsubscribed from my content. I can just modify it over here and it will give me an idea of which contacts have unsubscribed. For example, which contacts are pending. I have one pending contact. That would be someone who has subscribed but hasn't confirmed their subscription yet. There are also different statuses that we're going to be touching base on as we move a little bit more on our webinars, but a hard bounce and the soft bounce is also something that you will want to be paying attention to. So quickly, a hard bounce would be when someone has an invalid address. So you have a contact, but said contact has deleted their email address. Maybe it was old, maybe it's not working anymore. It doesn't exist anymore. It's now invalid. If you send it to them, your email bounces back. So it is not getting delivered to this address because it does not exist. A soft bounce, on the other hand, is in the case in which it's a temporary invalid address. Maybe their mailbox is full, maybe they do not have any more storage, and that's why they're not receiving your email. They would be classified as a soft bounce. Now, these are all very important because they do play into your reputation, but all in all, the little filter tool allows you to have a clear idea on how your audience is doing, their status, their activity, and so on. So I hope this clears up some of your questions regarding list management. We'll be moving on to questions, and I'll be ending the recording now.
I have a question. Sorry, hang on to turn my video on. It might work. Yeah, there we go.